You may be seated. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
It is very good to see you this morning, both here in the sanctuary and on Zoom. I'm glad you're here. It is very good to see faces. So this week, I have spent too much time reading the news and on social media. 0 out of 5 stars. Do not recommend. On the one hand, I try and stay out of politics. I don't post about it, and I don't talk about it with very many people, but I do care about it. I was a political science major, I'm a lawyer, and I care about our country. And privately, I love a good policy debate. I have found myself hopping from one news site to the next to get the latest updates on all sorts of issues. And I often do the dreaded thing of clicking on the comments to read just a few. And I always say, it's just to get a sense of what people are thinking. And then I click on the comments and I say, surely this is not what people are really thinking. And so whether it's in the comments, the news itself, or on social media, it is clear that we are in a time of great division. And it seems like everywhere we turn, people are doubling down on the reasons to feel separated from one another. And maybe it is just because we're in an election cycle, but it feels as though it is at a fever pitch. And all of this can feel us feeling really overwhelmed and exhausted. It can be challenging to navigate relationships with our families and with our neighbors. And how do we handle all this? How do you handle it? And I think there are lots of different ways that people handle it, and we all do it a little differently. Some are really non-confrontational and just don't want to cause a fight, right? They don't want to offend anyone, so it can feel like it's impossible to talk to anyone. We have to just stay in our safe place. We know who feels the same way that we feel or thinks the same way that we think, and we can just stick with them. We huddle in our groups and we try and stay away from that other group. And if we have to mingle, we just stay on the surface and we don't really say anything at all. On the other hand, some of us want to run into the fight, right? These are the people that post on social media to vent their outrage. You know, they want to make sure everybody understands the idiocy of the other opinion. Or maybe running into the fight isn't about social media, but it's about volunteering on campaigns or working towards voter registration or other ways to change the conversation and to make a difference. But no matter how you react, the division can feel very isolating. And I don't know if you ever wonder when we will stop being so divided. I know I do. And I don't know the answer to that question, but it seems like it's not a new thing. And it was that way in the time of Paul. So in our epistle reading today, we hear Paul telling the Ephesians that they're so focused on who is a Jew and who is a Gentile, who is doing it right and who's doing it wrong. Each group is so dug into their own traditions and opinions that they are sure that the other one is just wrong. Sounds familiar? Paul tells us that there are not two sides in the world for Jesus' followers. Jesus came to create a new humanity that was not divided, but that was unified. Now, it doesn't always feel that way. And when we think about large groups like denominations or political parties, it's easy to feel stuck and separated from those people. It just does. So when Paul says, "For Jesus is our peace," he has made both groups into one and has broken down the dividing wall. He has broken down the hostility between us. I'm not quite sure what to do. And as I struggled through this during the week, I came to the conclusion that the unity that we seek must exist on the individual level and not on any socio-political level. Does that make sense? The two political parties or social classes don't have to reconcile, and maybe they never will. But as individuals, we must. We are called to love each other as Jesus loves. I think that means that we engage with people not as Jew or Gentile or Democrat or Republican or this or that, but as people. We see and connect with the stories of the people around us. We find ways to see and experience our shared humanity. In the weekly email from the diocese, there was this program advertised called Potluck for Democracy. The promotion said that 70% of US citizens are anxious about the divisiveness in our country. The proposal was for churches to gather people together in their communities across political division, across religious groups, to come together in small groups to tell their stories. The ground rules are no politics, no policy, no debates. Just neighbors meeting neighbors. These conversations focus not on macro problems or policies, but on the life that we each live. The gathered group separates into smaller tables, and there are questions like, share a value that is meaningful to you and why it is important. Or tell a story when you felt connected to others. The conversations are focused on those emotions and experiences that we all share. When is a time that we felt loved? When did we feel alone? What is it like to feel vulnerable? And what do we hope for? And what frightens us? When we have conversations on this level, we find that we are really more same than different. When we peel away the group politics, we find that we are all sons and daughters, people trying to find connection, belonging, and meaning. We fear the same things, we need the same things, and we really do have a shared humanity. And this is when we can connect with each other. I lived in Oklahoma City in 1995 when the bombing of the Murrah Federal Building took place. That morning at 9:02, the city shook, and we all felt it. It was the sound of a large truck bomb exploding and the sound of the federal building crumbling, killing 168 people, including the children from the daycare on the second floor. In that moment, we all lost our breath. There were no words. There was just numbness and disbelief. And as soon as we caught our breath, we showed up to help. It didn't matter if you were a student, a stay-home mom, a retail worker, or an executive. We showed up. And we did whatever needed to be done. The city changed. Our flags flew low, and we looked in each other's eyes as we passed in the aisle in stores. We knew each other without having to say a word. No one cared about your opinions on any controversial issue. They just wanted to make sure that you were okay. The Oklahoma City bombing is not unique. This happens in all disasters. At our core, we know that we are all connected. We know that we are, as Paul says, one people. And I think that we live the same ethic when we work at the food bank or at Reclaim or Echo Glen. In those moments and in those places, we are there to help our fellow humans no matter what. It is then that we are most like Jesus, when we see people in their need and we offer them love. So how do we offer this love and compassion, even when there hasn't been a bombing or we're not at the food bank? How do we see each other this way all the time? Jesus knew it would be hard. One of the last prayers for us is recorded in John 17, where Jesus actually prays for us. And he prayed that we would find unity and that we would be one. He said, "Father, just as you and I are one, may they be one." in the Nicene Creed that we say each week, we refer to this prayer of Jesus and say that Jesus is one being with the Father. For those of you that were raised Catholic or Rite One Episcopalians, you will remember that the word used to be consubstantial with the Father, meaning of the same substance with the Father. Jesus and the Father are made of the same substance, and so we are made of the same substance as our neighbor. We are all the same. And this is the eternal reality. The stuff on social media, the comments on the news feed, they are a fiction of hyperbole that keeps us tantalized and that keeps us separated from others. I'm not saying that we should ignore our duties as citizens. We should vote, and we should engage in the political process to make the changes that we believe are necessary. But we work at the system level to make change. But we invest and connect at the individual level. We can and should do both. So how do we do this practically? First, engage in authentic conversations. One of the most effective ways to bridge the divide is through open and authentic conversations. And by authentic, I mean we listen because we want to hear. We see each other when we hear each other's stories. Second, we serve and help those in need. Service is a powerful expression of unity. When we serve others, we demonstrate Christ's love in tangible ways. And this congregation is good at this. And during the next several months, when the divisiveness is likely to peak, continue to invest in the opportunities to serve. These acts of service can break down barriers and build relationships. Third, model unity in church. This church should be a beacon of unity in a divided world. We need to commit to have a spirit of unity within our congregation. We are not a political space, and we must welcome people with diverse opinions and backgrounds. We get to know each other on a personal level, and we care about each other as individuals. And finally, pray for unity. Prayer is a crucial component of our pursuit of unity. Pray for wisdom, for patience, and a heart of compassion. Ask God to reveal areas in your life where you can be a bridge builder and to give you the courage to act at some time, or sometimes the courage to step away. And when it becomes overwhelming, remember to take time to rest and to recharge. Just as the disciples gathered around Jesus to share their experiences and frustrations, we too should seek solace in his presence. Tell him your stories and your struggles and your weariness. Listen for his invitation to come away to a quiet place and to find rest. In these moments of rest, we can regain our strength and perspective, and enables us to continue our work of building connections and bridging divides. So yes, we live in a time of great division, but we are called to be agents of love and unity in our world. Whether through authentic conversations, acts of service, modeling unity with within our church, or through prayer, we can make a difference. Remember, it is in these small individual acts of connection and compassion that we reflect the love of Christ and work towards a world where we see each other not as opposing sides, but as fellow human beings. And as we navigate these challenging times, let's always seek to bridge these divides, to understand and love one another, and to find rest and renewal in the presence of Jesus.